Alain de Botton, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. The origins of our inner voices, particularly the harsh and critical ones, can often be traced back to the external world. The way I like to think about it is that an inner voice is almost always an outer voice that has been internalized. We are porous people, and the manner in which we are spoken to throughout our formative years eventually becomes the way we speak to ourselves. If that sounds a bit strange, consider the acquisition of language itself. We all arrive in the world without speaking a single word. Yet by the age of 3, 4, or 5, we have absorbed a vast vocabulary and complex grammatical rules. The fascinating thing about this process is that we are often unaware we are even learning. A child could be doing handstands in the garden or drawing buttercups in the kitchen, and all the while, they're becoming an expert grammarian. Hundreds of words and intricate grammatical constructions are seamlessly entering their minds. This analogy of language acquisition holds true for our emotional lives as well. At the same time we're learning a verbal language of words and declensions, we are also learning an emotional language. We are internalizing foundational beliefs about the world. What is a man like? What is a woman like? What happens when you give something to someone or when you're vulnerable? What are the consequences of saying yes or no, or of wanting to play? These lessons comprise the invisible syntax of our emotional lives. Just like our grammatical syntax, it operates in the background, shaping our interactions and reactions throughout our lives, and it can be immensely hard to change. Imagine growing up speaking English and then, as an adult, deciding to learn Italian. It's not impossible, but it will take a very long time. It's helpful to remember how hard this is because people often become impatient with their own emotional growth. They might say, I want to change how I relate to people. I've read a book and I've been to 3 therapy sessions, and I'm annoyed that nothing has changed. To that, we could say, imagine this was Italian. You've looked at a textbook and taken 3 classes, and now you're complaining that you don't speak fluently? We need some modesty here in order to be properly ambitious. A false picture of what success demands is often the root cause of early despair and giving up. In the realm of emotional maturation, we let ourselves down by expecting an ease that simply isn't there. The language we use profoundly shapes our experience of emotions. German, for instance, has a colorful array of words to describe specific emotional states that don't have a direct equivalent in English. The very fact that we have a word for a feeling can almost unlock that emotion, allowing us to engage in deeper self-investigation. While philosophers of language may debate the specifics, I firmly believe that the more words we have, the more we can attend to what we feel, and in some cases, the more we can feel. I remember learning the word anxiety as a teenager and thinking what a useful word it was. As our vocabulary stretches, we are better able to place a flag in the sometimes painful parts of our psyche. If you think about why people go to psychotherapy, or even what motivates many friendships, it's often the process of someone else helping to give us a vocabulary for parts of our mind and experience that have, until now, eluded definition. This act of defining is not a mere intellectual exercise. It can be a life-saving one. The more you can define, the easier life gets. Freud speculated that the origins of language lie in our ability to bear frustration. If a child can think, I'm frustrated now, but mommy is coming back, having those words can help them bear the feeling of missing someone. Language makes difficult things more bearable. Adults know this instinctively when they journal. All the research shows how helpful it is, but why? Translating a feeling into a word tames it, contains it, and narrows the spread of its difficulty. It takes these ephemeral, floating thoughts and concretizes them, squeezing them through an aperture so we can see them clearly and say, this is what I meant. It's no longer just an ambient noise in the next room. It's something we can touch and see. In relationships, the more a couple's vocabulary for their shared experience increases, the better they can communicate. They can say, when you do that, I feel this. The problem isn't just a lack of communication, but a lack of precise language for our feelings. So much goes wrong in life because we are unable to articulate our inner world, starting with ourselves. Psychotherapists use the term disassociation to describe a fascinating concept. You feel an emotion that is so difficult that you simply stop feeling it. The feeling is still in you, but you're no longer registering it. The argument is that the more you can associate with your feelings and the less you disassociate, the better off you will be. However, let's remember that some parts of life are unbearable. In her novel Middlemarch, George Eliot wrote that if we could properly register the full sounds of life, we would lose our minds from the sheer richness of existence. In other words, being hypersensitive to everything around us would drive us mad. Colloquially, madness or severe mental illness often involves a breakdown in the ability to sequence and grade thoughts. Everything comes at you at once. A mistake from 15 years ago can feel as pressing as a problem today. So, while it's vital to know what you're feeling, the ability to sometimes take distance from the full force of our feelings is also a hallmark of health. It is a double-edged sword. So, how can we heal a negative inner voice? First, you have to find it, because it doesn't announce itself as an inner voice. We're talking about a way of speaking to yourself that is more negative or unfair than you deserve. A helpful tool is the sentence completion exercise. You start with a prompt like, men are, women are, life is, I am, and then, without thinking too much, you complete the sentence. The results can be fascinating. If someone writes, men are cruel, it opens a door to explore where that belief came from. Often, you'll find a story that owes more to an external influence than an internal truth. We're talking about the very texture of our own minds, yet so much of it may not be self-generated. It might be something we've absorbed from our past, from society, culture, or habits we developed to compensate for trauma. This brings up the question of who we truly are. Are you that voice? In some ways, yes, because you're inextricably linked to your experiences. But we also have a sense of a transcendent, better self, the person we could be without the compensations and traumas. We are penetrated by society. Every word we speak was created by others long before we existed. Our biology, our gut bacteria, is both us and not us. We are interpenetrated by society, history, and biology. The journey of life, then, is to begin separating out what was put there by our context from what represents our own considered values and choices. This is the process of self-authorship. The more mature a person is, the more their thoughts, values, and actions are the result of their own sifting and editing, rather than a passive reflection of the context they were born into. A small child is often remarkably authentic, which is why we enjoy their company. They'll say that Granny's nose is too big or that an expensive restaurant is boring. They come out with things that are non-normative, and as adults, we recognize a spontaneity in them that we have lost. The high water mark of the opposite is adolescence, around 14 and a half, when the most fervent wish is to be exactly like everyone else. Then, slowly, we begin to individuate again. This is an exciting journey, and we don't have to do it in all areas. We can choose the domains that matter most to us. It's about finding the balance, striving for a mature, childlike version of ourselves who is less swayed by the opinions of others. I recall the story of Picasso visiting a children's art class. He saw a 7-year-old scribbling and famously said, "When I was his age, I was painting like Raphael. It's taken me all my life to remember how to paint like this." An adult painting like a child is not the same as a child painting. It's something earned, something deeper. It's a journey through unconscious incompetence to conscious competence, where simplicity is not a starting point, but a hard-won destination. Why do we struggle to connect with our emotions? Let's be honest. Emotions are not just lovely, cuddly things. They are often terrifying. Think about love. We think people spend their lives looking for it, but that's only a half-truth. We spend a good deal of time running away from love as well. It is especially terrifying if our early experiences with attachment were disrupted. The next time we encounter love as an adult, a part of us wants to flee. People don't fully appreciate the strength with which we resist love if our first taste of it was difficult. Similarly, we often run from happiness. If you grew up in a household where being happy meant upsetting a parent or challenging the dominant mood, then happiness itself becomes associated with danger. We can't accept the positive circumstances of our lives, so we spoil them to return to a more familiar, albeit unhappy, state. For smart people who enjoy intellectualizing, there's a danger of using theory as a prophylactic against actually feeling. We can explain our behaviors with evolutionary psychology or attachment theory, but this can become a way to rationalize our feelings away. We do this for poignant reasons. The bookish child often reads a lot because life outside of books is difficult. Intellectual pursuits can be a flight from an overwhelming reality. The goal, over time, is to let more of that reality into our intellectual world. These defenses, whether it's reading too much, jogging too much, or making jokes all the time, once kept us safe. To evolve, we have to thank our younger selves for finding a way to cope, and then gently ask if we might learn to cope in a different way now. There's a vast difference between knowing ourselves intellectually and knowing ourselves emotionally. It's easy to have the headline, "Tension with my dad," and think we've covered it. But that headline is like an Enso circle. We can meditate on it for years and continue to discover new layers. Our real experiences are so much richer than our workaday sense of them. We live so much and experience so little. We see so much and notice so little. The obsessive person who needs to control everything is often running from something painful they're not allowing themselves to feel. A simple but powerful question to ask in those moments is, if you weren't able to do this right now, what might you need to think about or feel? The answer is always there, waiting. Coping mechanisms, even healthy ones like meditation, can sometimes be a way to avoid investigating the root of an emotion. While meditation is a brilliant tool for noticing and releasing a feeling, therapy offers something different. Another person to investigate your statements and point out the doors in your own house that you never knew existed. It's a humbling experience to have someone else see things in minutes that have eluded you for a lifetime. But there's no shame in it. We simply can't see the back of our own heads. The best thing to do is laugh at our shared human ineptitude. Adult relationships serve as a litmus test for our emotional development, a place where the past catches up with the present. The way we love as adults always bears the imprint of how we were loved as children. We are often drawn to people who present us with the same puzzles and challenges of our past, but who also hold out the promise of a different ending. This is why an anxious person might team up with an avoidant one. They're unconsciously trying to heal an old wound and grow together. It's a difficult path, which is why successful love is rare, but the ambition to grow beyond our early attachment wounds is what powers love's most profound journey. This entire journey of self-discovery, of wrestling with our past and our patterns, can feel overwhelming. But we are not alone in our struggles. The very things that challenge you, the thoughts and feelings you believe are a unique personal curse, are felt by countless others. The most profound research is often me-search. When you follow your own instincts and investigate the things that trouble or fascinate you, you are tapping into a universal human experience. It is brutally and horribly simple. We do this work to help ourselves get through the day. And in helping ourselves, we find that we have, almost by accident, helped someone else feel a little less alone in their own journey. The path to a healthier inner world is not about achieving perfection or eradicating our flaws. It is about understanding them with more clarity and compassion. It's about recognizing the intricate, often illogical, reasons we are the way we are and smiling with a gentle sense of absurdity at the human condition. We are all flailing in the dark, and the greatest confidence comes not from pretending we are invincible, but from accepting that we are all, in our own way, a bit foolish and that it's okay. This understanding is not a final destination, but a continuous and beautiful process of becoming more fully and kindly ourselves. If this conversation resonated with you and you'd like to explore more ideas for a calmer, wiser, and more resilient life, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you for joining us.